Welcome to the California Board of Psychology. The Board of Psychology protects the safety and welfare of consumers of psychological services. The board is responsible for registering psychological assistants in the state of California. Unless otherwise exempt, a psychological assistant registration is required when an unlicensed individual will be providing psychological services under the supervision of a licensed psychologist or board-certified psychiatrist for the purpose of accruing supervised professional experience towards licensure. Supervision is limited to 3 psychological assistants per supervisor at any time. Supervisors must provide at least 1 hour per week of individual supervision and be available to the psychological assistant 100% of the time the assistant is performing psychological services.
How do I obtain a psychological assistant registration?
Any person desiring to become a psychological assistant must complete and submit an application for registration as a psychological assistant. The application is completed jointly by the supervisor and the prospective psychological assistant. The application can be downloaded via the link below.
What is the fee for this application?
There is a $40 application fee.
What are the educational requirements?
There are 3 different ways to qualify as a psychological assistant. If you have a master's degree in one of the following: psychology, education with a field of specialization in psychology, education with a field of specialization in counseling psychology, or based upon admission to candidacy for a doctoral degree in psychology or education with a specialization in psychology or counseling psychology, after having satisfactorily completed 3 or more years of postgraduate education in psychology and having passed preliminary doctoral examinations, or if you have a doctoral degree in one of the following: psychology, educational psychology, education with the field of specialization in counseling psychology, or educational psychology. Official transcripts from all educational institutions where you completed relevant graduate coursework with the date the degree was conferred must be sent directly to the Board of Psychology by the institution. If the transcript does not clearly indicate the field of specialization of the degree awarded, or if the registration is based on admission to candidacy, the registrar of the educational institution should submit a clarifying letter along with the transcript.
Do I need to submit fingerprints?
Before the Board of Psychology issues a registration, a clearance must be received from both the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to document that the applicant has no criminal history that is substantially related to the qualifications, functions, or duties of a psychological assistant, and upon which the registration could be denied. For fingerprint procedures information, click the link below.
How do I know if I'm approved for this registration?
Submission of an application is not an approval. Approval must be granted before the assistant can begin providing psychological services and/or start accruing hours. Any hours worked prior to the approval may not count toward the supervised professional experience required for licensure as a psychologist, and may be considered unlicensed practice. Once the application is approved, the applicant will be notified via email.
Once I am registered as a psychological assistant, how often do I have to renew?
A new registration will expire 1 year after issuance and must be renewed annually on or before the expiration. A registration not renewed within 60 days after its expiration is not renewable, and a new application for registration must be submitted to become registered again.
How long can I be registered as a psychological assistant?
Registration as a psychological assistant is limited to a cumulative total of 6 years. Once you successfully complete these requirements, you are on your way to becoming a registered psychological assistant. The psychological assistant registration allows you to provide psychological services once it has been approved. Approval of the registration does not guarantee that the hours worked will count toward the supervised professional experience requirements for licensure as a psychologist. In order for your hours to count, the experience must comply with the board's regulations, which can be reviewed by clicking the link below. Please make sure that you carefully go over the requirements with your supervisor to make sure that you both are in compliance at all times before and while the hours are accrued. If you have any questions not addressed in this video, or would like general information, please contact the Board of Psychology at 916-574-7720 or visit our website.